The moment that will define your next 5 years is not coming in a boardroom. It is not coming on a stage. It is not coming in a prayer meeting or a conference or a carefully planned strategic session. It is coming in an ordinary moment, a text message that misrepresents you, a comment that dismisses your worth, a betrayal from someone you trusted, a situation that is objectively unfair, and in that moment, lasting less than 3 seconds, you will make a decision to react or not to react. And that decision, that 3-second window, will either accelerate your destiny or set it back by years. Most people fail here, not because they are weak, but because nobody ever taught them what is actually at stake. I want to begin by making a distinction that the church has largely failed to make clearly. There is a difference between a response and a reaction. A response is considered, measured, spiritually filtered. It passes through the grid of wisdom, of patience, of kingdom purpose before it exits your mouth or your hands or your decisions. A reaction is none of those things. A reaction is the raw, unprocessed, unfiltered output of your flesh meeting an unpleasant stimulus. It bypasses wisdom. It bypasses prayer. It bypasses every value you have spent years cultivating, and it arrives at the surface of your life, still hot, still jagged, still carrying the full destructive potential of an unrefined interior. And here is what makes reactions so dangerous: they feel justified in the moment. That is the trap. The person was wrong. The accusation was false. The treatment was unfair. The disrespect was real. And everything in your flesh rises up and says, this deserves a response. This cannot go unaddressed. If I stay silent now, they will think they were right. If I do not react, I am weak. And that voice, convincing as it sounds, is not the voice of courage. It is the voice of immaturity, dressed in the costume of justice. Because real strength is not the ability to retaliate. Real strength is the ability to absorb impact without being deformed by it. Real strength is the capacity to remain anchored to your assignment when everything around you is pulling at you, to abandon it in favor of a moment of emotional satisfaction. And that kind of strength, I need you to understand, is not natural. It is not produced by personality or temperament or self-discipline alone. It is the fruit of a specific kind of spiritual formation that most people are unwilling to undergo. The first truth I want to establish is this: your reactions do not just cost you, they reveal you. Every reaction is a window into the current state of your interior. It is an involuntary confession. It tells the room, and more importantly, tells God exactly where your formation currently stands. A man can preach about patience every Sunday. He can teach about self-control with remarkable accuracy and conviction. He can counsel others on the wisdom of measured responses with genuine insight, and then someone cuts him off in traffic. Or a colleague takes credit for his work. Or a trusted friend betrays a confidence. Or a family member says the one thing that knows exactly where to land. And in that moment, every sermon dissolves. Every teaching evaporates, and what is actually inside the man comes out, because pressure does not create character. Pressure reveals it. Luke 6:45. A good man, out of the good treasure of his heart, bringeth forth that which is good. And an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is evil. For out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaketh. Abundance. The word is important. It means the overflow, the excess, the thing that is so full inside you that it spills out when the container is shaken. What spills out of you when life shakes you is the truest picture of what is inside you. And God, in His meticulous, loving, thorough way, uses the provocations of everyday life as diagnostic instruments. He allows the shake precisely to see what spills, not to condemn you, but to show you where the work still needs to happen. Because He cannot fix what you will not acknowledge. And the reaction is the acknowledgement, whether you intended it or not. So, the next time you react in a way that surprises even you, instead of rushing to justify it, instead of constructing the argument for why your reaction was warranted, sit with it. Ask the Holy Spirit, what did that reaction just show me about where I still need formation? That question, honestly asked and honestly answered, is worth more than 1,000 sermons on patience. Here is a kingdom principle that will rearrange your entire approach to provocation. What you do not react to cannot control you. Read that again. Because it is more profound than it appears on the surface. Every provocation is an invitation. And the invitation is always the same. Come down from where you are and engage with me at my level. Sanballat sent that invitation to Nehemiah 4 times. Come, let us meet together. 4 times. And 4 times Nehemiah sent back the same reply. I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down. He never debated the content of the accusation. He never addressed the slander point by point. He never gathered his team to craft a public response. He never allowed the provocation to pull him off the wall and into the valley where his enemies were waiting. He stayed on the wall. He kept building. He refused the invitation, and the wall was completed in 52 days. Now I want you to understand what Nehemiah's non-reaction accomplished. It did not just protect his peace. It did not just preserve his focus. It communicated something to his enemies and to his God that no rebuttal could have communicated. It said, your opinion of me does not have the authority to interrupt my assignment. That is a declaration of spiritual sovereignty. And it is only available to the person who has decided in advance, before the provocation arrives, that their assignment is worth more than the temporary satisfaction of a reaction. Because here is what the enemy understands that most believers do not. He cannot stop your destiny directly. He does not have that authority. What he can do is construct situations designed to provoke you into stopping it yourself. Every time you react, every time you abandon your post to engage with provocation, you do for the enemy what he cannot do for himself. Stay on your wall. The building is more important than the argument. I want to take you to a scene that I believe is the most powerful demonstration of non-reaction in human history. Matthew 27. Jesus is standing before Pilate. He has been betrayed, arrested, falsely accused, mocked, spat upon, struck, and now he is in front of the most powerful political authority in the region, facing accusations from the chief priests and elders. And the scripture says, he answered nothing, not a defense, not a correction of the false testimony, not a single word to clarify the misrepresentation. Nothing. And Pilate, a man who had interrogated criminals, revolutionaries, insurrectionists, was confounded. Hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee? Because he had never seen anything like it. A man under maximum pressure, maximum threat, maximum provocation, and absolute silence. Jesus did not react because he understood something that Pilate could not comprehend, that the silence was not defeat. The silence was sovereignty. He knew where he was going. He knew what the cross would accomplish. He knew that in 3 days, the resurrection would render every accusation irrelevant, every false testimony meaningless, every voice that cried for his crucifixion permanently silenced by the fact of an empty tomb. He did not need to defend himself in that moment. He had already seen the outcome. And this is the foundation of non-reaction for the believer. It is not stoicism. It is not emotional suppression. It is not the gritting of teeth and the white-knuckling of the flesh. It is faith in the outcome. It is the settled knowledge that God is the vindicator, that the story is not over, that what looks like defeat in this moment is simply a chapter, and the author has already written the ending. Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. All things, including the provocations, including the injustices, including the betrayals, including every situation that your flesh is currently screaming at you to react to. God is working it. Trust the working and be still. Now, I want to give you something practical, because a revelation without a method is simply beautiful theory. First, decide before the moment arrives. The worst time to decide how you will handle provocation is in the middle of it. Because in the middle of it, your emotions are activated, your flesh is engaged, and your rational and spiritual faculties are at their weakest. The decision must be made in advance, in the secret place, in the calm of prayer and the word, before the storm comes. Joshua 1-9. Have I not commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. That instruction was given before the Jordan, before the battles, before the provocations. Because God knew the time to build courage is before the moment demands it. Decide today, before the message arrives, before the accusation is made, before the betrayal happens, that you will not react, that you will pause, that you will take it to God before you take it to the person, that your assignment is worth more than your emotion. Make that decision in the quiet. And when the storm comes, the decision will hold. Second, create distance between stimulus and response. The flesh reacts immediately. The spirit responds deliberately. And the gap between the two is where your formation lives. When something provocative lands in your world, a message, a situation, a conversation, train yourself to create physical and temporal distance before you engage. Walk away from the phone. Take 24 hours before you reply. Go into prayer before you construct a response, because what feels urgent in the moment is rarely as urgent as it feels. And the response you give after 24 hours of prayer will always be more aligned with the kingdom than the reaction you gave in 24 seconds of flesh. Third, make worship your immediate response to provocation. This is the most supernatural handle I can give you. The moment provocation comes, before you process it, before you analyze it, before you decide what to do with it, worship. Not because you feel like it, not because the situation warrants celebration, but because worship is the fastest way to reposition your spirit above the level of the provocation. You cannot worship God genuinely and react carnally simultaneously. The two cannot coexist. Worship elevates. Worship realigns. Worship reminds you of who is actually in control of your story. And a person who remembers who is in control has no need to react to what is out of control. There is a test coming. Perhaps it is already here. A situation specifically engineered to provoke the worst version of you, to pull you off your wall, to make you small, to get you talking when you should be building, to make you defend yourself when God was already preparing your vindication, and everything in the flesh will say, react, speak, fight back. Make them understand. In that moment, I want you to remember this. The most powerful person in any room is not the loudest one. It is the stillest one, the person who can absorb the impact without being deformed by it, the person who can be misunderstood without rushing to correct it, the person who can be wronged without being derailed by it. That person is not passive. That person is not weak. That person is not afraid. That person has simply decided that their destiny is worth more than their reaction. Be that person in 2026 and beyond. Stay on your wall. Keep building. Let God handle what you refuse to touch. Your vindication is already written. You do not need to author it with your reaction.